Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Happy Monday, gentlemen.
Happy Monday. Welcome to There's Always Next Year podcast, the first ever video edition.
You guys look great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm noticing, I think maybe I could slim a few pounds down. I don't think this pullover is maybe accents me as well as it could. But
you're beautiful just the way you are.
Thank you. Good to be here. Good to see myself. This is
Matt's over there in the corner.
Something.
But yeah, we're trying out a few new things this year. Like we told you at the end of last year, we were going to be trying to implement some new topic ideas, some new engagement ideas with you guys. So here we are trying out video. We got a couple new segments that we're going to bring to you today as well, and hopefully we keep continuing to do this further along down in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, really excited. We've brainstormed and schemed a number of different things and ideas about opportunities we have to talk about things and to try new tactics. And I really appreciate the effort these guys have put into thinking through different things, and especially for Matt getting to go through that rat's nest of a wiring setup that Mikey has back here in the corner of the studio.
I don't think we should put all the blame on me. I think that it has been that way since we all set this studio up for about
Mike spends
a long
by
time ago.
far more hours in the studio than any one of us, though. So
and I'm never allowed to touch wires.
Well,
so
that's what I was scared to touch the wires and maybe screw something up.
Hands
so
off
I don't
operation here for me.
Thankfully, Matt got it cleaned up, though, and I think we are good to go from here on out.
Absolutely. Thank you, Matty. So, yeah, with that being said, Mikey, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of kind of new things and new fun stuff going on here in 2023, take a look at those Kansas State Wildcats. NCAA basketball, they're 17-2 right now. Had a really good week this week. Went back and beat KU on last Tuesday, beat Texas Tech on Saturday, and today the new AP poll came out, and they are ranked 5th in the nation. I think that's their highest ranking since 2010. So the amazing thing about this is they only won 14 games last year. They brought in a new coach this year, Jerome Tang, coming in from Baylor, where he was an assistant coach behind Scott Drew from 2002 to 2022. So had a long tenure there, and he was just waiting for the right opportunity. When you talk to him or hear him talk, he always talks about his faith. He talks about God and how God brought him to Kansas State, and that seems to be working for him here today. So,
did you say he was an assistant coach in that system for 20 years?
Yeah, 03 to 22. So, yep, 20 years.
That's wild that he stayed with one place for that long. Certainly glad that he finally got such a good opportunity to come to K-State. I was just talking with a buddy earlier today, and we were talking about how well K-State's playing right now, and that K-State-KU matchup that we saw last week. I couldn't help but think to myself, I've had a number of friends over the past few years, and I think you might have been one of them, but I can think of one or two others off the top of my head that absolutely were just done with Bruce Weber and just aggressively wanted him out, and a change of pace and a new regime to come in and take leadership of that Wildcat basketball program.
Yeah, we needed a change. I mean, Bruce Weber, he had his good years. He had his ups and downs, but he had his good years. I think brought us to an Elite Eight at one point in time. So he was fine, but we needed some new energy. We needed someone new to come in and bring the energy to Manhattan, Kansas, bring the energy back to Bramlage Coliseum, and beef up our bring new players in with this NIL stuff, name, image, and likeness. Like, you can get good players and flip a program around in just 1 year, and that's exactly what it seems like he has done here. But I've got a clip of an interview that I want us to listen to about Jerome Tame talking about the kind of the rivalry with KU.
Sure.
Really, this is what I wanted. My message to our students, okay, because that I don't want them to show up to the game and yell and scream, and I don't want our fans to show up to the game because they hate the other team, right? I want them to show up because they love Kansas State, right? Our guys, every guy on our roster, they didn't pick this school because they hated somebody else. They picked this school because they love us as a staff, they love this community, and they love this university. And I would be real interested to see how we can really change this thing around if we're motivated by love, right, rather than by hate. And I just feel, and I know I'm gonna upset some people, I feel like we, the Kansas State community and family, allow them to live rent-free in our heads way too much. Okay, this game, it's one game in the conference. If we win, we get one win. If we lose, we get one loss. That's it. I came to try and win a Big 12 championship and win a national championship. Okay, and the year we won the national championship, we split with these guys, right? And so that's my thing. Let's show up to the game because we love Kansas State. Let's show up to every game because we love Kansas State. Let's pack Bramlage and make it the Octagon of Doom because we love Kansas State, not because we hate somebody else.
There you go. I mean, what a guy. What a great mentality on not only just sports rivalries, but on how the community wraps around itself. It wraps around a college basketball program or a college program and sports program in general because they love that program. It used to be back in the day, I mean, when we were in college, when we would go to K-State football or basketball games, you would hear the chants.
Sure.
You know exactly what chants I'm talking about.
Right.
FKU, FKU. Even when we're not even playing KU.
Right.
So by him saying that exact thing in a press conference about how we have allowed them to live rent-free in our heads, it's 100% true. And it needs to be over. So I love the mentality that Jerome Tang has brought to this program, has brought his mentality on how instead of hating the other team, loving our program, moving our program forward, and expecting to win, that's what we need to do from going forward. And what a good guy. I just was so enthralled by that interview.
Have you guys seen the big shirts that all the KU fans are wearing lately? They're shying away from hate too. They're going to love.
The I Heart Dick?
The We Heart Dick.
Oh,
That's
We Heart
right.
Dick, yeah.
I did see those. I saw a clip of, it was just perfect angling of there were these people in the front row that moved just right as this girl in the second row was standing up, and yep, just I Heart Dick t-shirt right there. And I definitely laughed.
Meaning
I can't.
Meaning Grady Dick, the guy that plays for KU. You would think.
Oh.
But you never know. It could go both ways.
We'll assume it's Grady Dick.
Great name.
Great name. Yeah.
It's something. It's something.
But yeah, I do like the message that Jerome Tang was putting out. You've got to lead with, you want your team to be the forefront.
Exactly.
I think the message, college kids are going to be college kids. I think that's something that we're going to remember as well.
Right.
You've got a bunch of kids that are 18 to 22 years old who are getting liquored up and going to these games. They're going to do what they're going to do a little bit. But I appreciate the message that he's putting out in the sense that, it's so often you get encompassed in a rivalry. And don't get me wrong, it's incredibly exciting that this rivalry is so renewed and
Right.
it's back, and both of these teams are playing at such a high and competitive level. Like, I'm here for it. But especially as we look across the Big 12 college basketball landscape this year, how many teams from the top 25 are in the Big 12 right now? 4 or 5?
6.
Six.
6 in the top 17.
6 in the top 17. That is absolutely insane. We were talking about last week, we were talking about college football and the SEC against the world. Well,
Right.
In college basketball right now, I think there's no argument that it's the Big 12 versus the world come tournament time if this landscape continues to look like it does currently.
It definitely is. And there's no days off when you play a Big 12 team. So it's a grind day in and day out. I mean, you see it with KU. I mean, KU has dominated this league for so long now, but every single game, and they're still probably arguably the best team in this conference, or have the most talent in this conference. But they're playing close games day in and day out. K-State beat them by 1. I mean, I guess the most recent game was TCU blew them out by like 20 or something like that. But every other game that they played in the Big 12 Conference, it's been decided by less than 5 points. So you go in and play these tough teams in the Big 12, and I mean, there's a great possibility you get 7 or 8 teams in the NCAA tournament come from the Big 12.
Well, and that's fantastic, and I think it's especially good for Kansas City that we see those teams continue to be strong, because that Big 12 tournament runs right through downtown Kansas City.
It sure does,
and that's always an exciting time of year that we've got coming out here in, I don't know, about a month and a half or so. That first week in March. This will be the most exciting Big 12 tournament that Kansas City has hosted in, I would say, probably at least 20 years.
It will be. I mean, yeah.
It's going to be fantastic, and I know I'm going to do my best to get down there if I'm not traveling that particular weekend.
Exactly. I typically try and take at least the part of the day Thursday and Friday off work to get down there and watch some games. Great basketball to be had in the Kansas City area there. A couple last notes on the K-State Wildcats and Jerome Tang before we move on here. And I bet Matt remembers this, but Adam, you may not know about this. They used to play Sandstorm. You know the song Sandstorm?
I remember
all the time
what you're talking about.
Yeah, so they used to play that song, the song Sandstorm, and when the beat drops, everyone would yell FKU, FKU. Well, maybe Jerome Tang's message is coming through a little bit to the students because they brought that back for the first time since 2016 at the Texas Tech game on Saturday, and instead of yelling FKU, they were shouting KSU. So maybe Jerome Tang's message is getting through to him a little bit. So we'll see if that maintains throughout the rest of the season, but I think he's doing a great job at building this program up and building the community up around it.
Absolutely. Speaking on terms as far as very exciting local sports topics, we watched the Chiefs get past the Jacksonville Jaguars and move on from the divisional round on Saturday in Kansas City, and then learn who they were going to face on Sunday. But it wasn't without some adversity along the way.
Yeah, you said get past. I would say we limped past them, literally and figuratively, because Mahomes took a bad hit, got landed on by a 300-pound guy, and they just got an MRI done yesterday, and he has a high ankle sprain, which is typically not good for an NFL player. You're typically out 6 to 8 weeks with a high ankle sprain.
Right.
But Mahomes, he's a baller, man. He says he's playing next week. So he needs to get in the treatment room. He needs to let his personal or athletic trainers do what they need to do. Rest it, ice it, elevate it, compress it. I don't know, put some electrodes on it to give it some stimulation. I don't know what you need to do, but he needs to get in that training room and get that done, because there is no way, no way that the Chiefs get past the Cincinnati Bengals without Mahomes. The issue here is, for me, I kind of had to start thinking about his long-term health. And so I looked into it a little bit, and he's got 2 games left in the season. So basically, if he can fight through it, he's not going to injure it anymore unless like he gets landed on again. But then you got all offseason to recover from that. So I don't think there's any significant like long-term health damage or health issues that could happen if he plays on it. Basically, they talk about how his stability is never going to be the same, and he needs to make sure to recoup it correctly so that he builds the strength back up in his ankle. But other than that, I mean, he's going to play. He is a competitor, and you could see him during that game not wanting to come out of the game, even though he could not run. He could not even do a drop back, basically, on that plant leg, his right leg.
And yet he still pulled off that like 6-yard hobble rush thing, which I was just furious at.
Literally hopping on one leg to get 4 to 6 yards, something like that.
Just risking a lot for a little in that point in time. I agree with you, Matt. But he got it done. Absolutely fully anticipate that he'll be on the field on Sunday to fight for their 5th consecutive, to have the opportunity to win the AFC Championship for the 5th consecutive time. Um, as I watched that game, and as I watched the games throughout the weekend, one, nice work by Chad Henne. Really nice work by Chad Henne to step up and make some plays when it mattered. Pacheco had a nice game.
Pacheco, broke off that huge run to help Chad Henne get down that field and score that touchdown.
Kelsey getting him on the board early, right out of the gate.
Yep.
But having some guys that they really need to step up, I would like to see a little bit more out of Juju.
Yes.
I feel like it's been relatively quiet. And I think with the games that he's really had an impact in this year, the Chiefs have been very successful.
Yep.
When he's been a factor. So I would really like to see them factor him into this game on Sunday and figure out how to work him into the mix. When they can be throwing the ball to Jerick McKinnon a little bit as well out in the flats, making stuff happen there, bringing him out of the backfield. I think that does really well for them as well. They didn't do that much on this weekend. McKinnon didn't even have a single catch.
I think he was blocking more than normal.
They did have him in blocking. Did you see the one block that he had where he completely laid out a big linebacker? And I mean, the guy was coming in to pass, and McKinnon, I don't know, much smaller guy,
right?
Just completely just pushing him to the ground. The linebacker looked like he didn't even know what had happened. He was just thinking he was just going to run right through him. So great job to McKinnon on protecting your quarterback there.
Absolutely. And not to say that he wasn't playing a role as well, but just as far as maybe that offense not sputtering as much at different points, getting a little dynamic with things and who they're utilizing as well.
Well, I think McKinnon,
especially given that Mahomes is going to be a little limited.
Yeah, he's going to be limited. They're going to want to get the ball out of Mahomes' hands as quick as possible. So doing those short routes, those flat routes to
that's
McKinnon,
Kelsey, maybe some Juju as well, but certainly McKinnon and Kelsey, and maybe factoring in Blake Bell, there's some as well.
I think they're going to put in some more
and Noah Gray.
2 tight end sets, like having 2 tight ends with Kelsey and Gray or Blake Bell having up there, one of them blocking, one of them going out on a route. I think that would help out a lot too, because obviously Mahomes is not going to have the mobility to be able to run around, scramble, and do what he normally do, the superhuman things that he normally does.
Right. But rolling off of that and talking about the games we watched this weekend, we all had the exact same picks.
So yeah, we couldn't really do our NFL playoff pool this week because none of us wanted to change our picks once we all were out there, and we were all 100% accurate on who was going to win.
I never knew what you guys picked, I don't think.
I sent that screenshot to you.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well, Mike never agreed, those are my picks too, but they were my picks, and there's receipts for that, which means I am 10 for 10 today, boys.
That's true.
That is true.
Pretty remarkable. And I had parlays on both of them.
We'll get into that.
We will get into that
Not
here in a little
smartest,
bit.
But it did work.
We'll get into that in a little bit. But that being said, we do have our conference championships set.
You mean the Arrowhead Invitational on the AFC side? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Who won the Arrowhead Invitational last year?
Well,
smart ass.
Who day?
The rematch. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It's going to be a rematch. It's going to be a good one.
Well, and it's funny. I was thinking about that last night. It's a straight up rematch, same location, same 2 teams facing off in the AFC. And the 2 teams that faced off last year.
In the NFC?
Yes.
It was the Rams, and Rams went to the Super Bowl. Who was the other team the Rams played?
I can't even remember now. But it wasn't anybody that's there right now.
It was not, no.
I don't think it was the Niners.
I don't think they were there.
And I know it wasn't the Eagles. Was it Tom Brady?
San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, it was the 49ers.
Fuck.
Dang it. We just looked real dumb right there.
Rams beat Tampa Bay in the round before.
That's right. It was. And then who was playing quarterback? Was it Trey Lance? It must have been, because I think Jimmy G was hurt by that point.
Had to have been Trey Lance.
That's probably why they lost.
Makes sense.
But
this year we got Brock Purdy.
We got Brock Purdy in there, and we've got the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles look really good on both sides of the ball.
They dominated this weekend.
They
absolutely dominated.
Like, that's been the most lopsided playoff matchup that's occurred thus far.
It was boring. I mean, it was just so boring.
I'm glad that was the one that was going on while I was working.
Yeah.
Because I didn't miss out on much. I did place a couple small wagers on New York, so you can imagine how those went. But again,
did not go well.
We'll dig into that in a bit. But boy, especially knowing that was the third time that the Giants had seen the Eagles this year,
right.
You would think that both teams would have a pretty good idea of what the other one was coming with. And for it to be that lopsided to me was very, very surprising.
I mean, the Eagles did the same thing that they've done all year. Jalen Hurts run the ball. He's throwing the ball. He's doing everything that he needs to do. So you'd think the Giants would be able to come up with a better defensive scheme in order to try and stop that. I think this just came down to the Eagles have more all-around talent. The Giants just aren't there yet. They're getting there. But they're just not 100% there.
Well, and it'll be a little bit interesting to see about that. We were talking about that quarterback carousel. It is not definitive that Daniel Jones will return to the Giants. He is a free agent because they had not picked up his fifth-year player option.
Correct.
He is hoping to re-sign with New York. But I'm guessing when Brian Dable came in, he said, let's figure it out over this year. Let's see if this is a guy we want to stick with or if we want to look at drafting somebody.
Either drafting somebody or making a move, getting a free agent,
acquiring somebody somehow.
Yeah.
So I'm inclined to think he had 15 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions on the year. That's a really good ratio. Obviously, you'd like to see a few more touchdown passes out of your starting quarterback, but still a really good ratio. I mean, throwing 5 picks across the season,
it's not bad.
You're certainly no liability from that standpoint.
And when you got Saquon Barkley in the backfield there too, you don't need to throw as many as many touchdowns because you get to the red zone and then let Saquon push that ball in.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see about them, but I am extremely excited. I know that when the Bengals had beat the Chiefs several weeks ago, later in the regular season, I said I wouldn't be surprised to see these teams meet again in the playoffs. Obviously, that wasn't a bold prediction by any means.
Right.
But I did say that I thought the Chiefs would beat the Bengals if they got the opportunity to play them in the playoffs. And I'm even with Mahomes' injury, I'm still going to stick with that.
I want to stick with that too. I think the Chiefs are going to come out playing with a chip on their shoulder. They're going to come out with a lot of energy. And even with the Mahomes injury, he's not going to be 100%, but if they can get him to 75% where he can move around a little bit, I think they can slice and dice the Bengals defense and at least keep pace with them and then win it in the final minutes of the game.
Or do we see a bunch more overtime this year?
We could. I mean, that's how the Chiefs lost last year to them, was in stinking overtime. But they changed the overtime rules because of the Buffalo Bills. Right. And guess what? The Buffalo Bills are, yet again, not in an AFC championship game.
Couldn't even make it to overtime.
No, they could not.
So, anyway, we'll see what happens come this next week. Do we want to pick our picks? Are we all picking the Eagles and the Chiefs? Is that what we're doing? Or Matt, do you have a different pick?
It's probably Eagles Chiefs, yeah. It's definitely Eagles.
Oh.
I think that the Eagles, here's what I'm going to say. I think the Eagles are the best all-around team remaining of the 4. That being said, I'm going to predict that the 49ers beat them.
Why is that?
Shanahan does a really good job of coaching in the playoffs. Like, even with far less stellar teams than they have this year. And I think I've gone on record saying I think they have a really stellar team this year. I think they have both teams in that NFC matchup, I think, are really, really good. And I thought that regardless, early in the season, I thought that the AFC was just going to dominate, and it didn't matter who came out of the NFC. The AFC was just going to handle them come the playoffs. And I don't feel that way at all anymore. If anything, I think that I would favor whoever comes out of the NFC just because of how all around good they are.
And yeah, you hit it dead on the point. I mean, we talked at the beginning of the year how we thought, it was either going to be the Chiefs or the Bills. I think it was just the Chiefs or the Bills, or
it was pretty much the Chiefs or the Bills. I think I said that I thought the Bengals would still be there. I think maybe you'd said you thought they were going to regress a little bit.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
But through the first few weeks of the season, it looked like it might.
Right.
They started off pretty rough. But
yeah, though the Eagles definitely came out and surprised. I mean, everybody. I think we knew they were going to be a good team. I just don't think we fully understood who they had at quarterback with Jalen Hurts.
I agree. And I didn't buy in. I think one of the things I said before the season was I saw that they were in the preseason rankings like the 5th or 6th best team. And I scoffed at it. I was like, what have they done to prove that they're anywhere in that category? And boy, I'm eating my words, because they have been, from beginning of year to end of the year, they have been the best team in football. And they deserve to have a Super Bowl appearance. I just worry. And Nick Sirianni's done a really, really nice job this year. And this is not a slight at him by any means. But Kyle Shanahan has coached in a lot of playoff games and does a really nice job of game management to figure out how to get his team moving on to the next round.
He does. He's brilliant at scheming up offensive plays with Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel. I mean, when you got the offensive players, the talent on the offensive side of the ball, it's not hard. But obviously, he's able to scheme up plays where his rookie quarterback in Brock Purdy is not causing any, not really throwing any interceptions, or not even really having a chance to throw an interception, because he's doing these easier plays that can get the ball into his playmakers' hands.
So going on that, I'm going to say that I think the Super Bowl matchup will be a rematch of 2019. I think it'll be the Chiefs and the Niners. Again, Andy Reid has proven that he can beat Kyle Shanahan in the Super Bowl, and he can outsmart him. Patrick Mahomes can turn it on when he needs to, but those are two very different teams. Those are not the same teams we saw in 2019.
Not even close.
There's a lot of different personnel on the field for both of those teams. I would say the majority of the personnel on probably both of those teams is different.
Well, either way, whether you're right with the 49ers and Chiefs, or whether Matt and I are right with the Eagles and Chiefs, the NFL scripted it up great, because basically with the 49ers, you got a rematch of 2019 if the Chiefs make it, and if it's the Chiefs and the Eagles, then you've got Andy Reid and playing his former team. And so either way, it's a great script. NFL, you're going to get a lot of views on the Super Bowl Sunday, and we'll see you there.
But speaking of things we saw and people we saw, I've got more or less we'll start with our fan of the week.
Fan of the week, okay, I like it.
We'll start with our fan of the week.
Did you find her from OnlyFans?
No, I certainly didn't. I don't know if she has a page. She might. I would be very curious what that content was, and if it was potato centric. I'm not saying I want to see it. I would just be curious what it was.
The listeners don't know why potato's relevant, Adam.
I'm digging into that now,
Matthew. Get into it.
I'm sorry.
Potato.
So for those of you that may not have seen, there was a little Twitter interaction this weekend between two fans attending the game. One that was cheering for the Jacksonville Jaguars and appears to have traveled from Jacksonville for the game, and one that was a Chiefs fan. The girl that was a Chiefs fan happened to have smuggled in a baked potato and was enjoying that baked potato. The best way I can describe the way she was eating it was like I would a Chipotle burrito. It was wrapped in foil. From what I could see in the picture, it did not appear there was any bacon bits or sour cream or shredded cheese available. I can't say that for certain, but from the image I saw, I didn't see any.
Was she just taking straight up bites out of this potato? Like the skin and all, like it wasn't cut open or anything like that? Literally just taking bites out of the potato?
From the image I saw, it looked like she was eating it like a Chipotle burrito. So you start at one end, skin still on, skin still intact, and just munching it down. And I mean, you could probably get some like ketchup packets from the
That's true. They have those
from the
out.
concession stands, I would say.
Those are free to grab, you know.
But while she was enjoying her tater, the Jacksonville fan that was down the row a little ways from her seemed to notice her enjoying this potato and struck him as odd. And so he decided to document it. And he posted it to...
I think it was another girl.
It was another... No.
The picture I saw was a dude.
No, it was a guy. Because I actually researched and looked at like his...
Oh, I just thought that was a dude.
I was a little...
Face.
I was a...
A girl.
I was a little curious if it was staged, so I went and like researched it a little bit to make sure that this guy had...
I had that thought too.
Some credibility.
I just don't know. She captures the exact moment that this other fan is taking a picture.
I'm
of her.
wondering if he was just staring for a while and somebody had been like, yeah, that guy keeps staring at you because you're eating a potato.
Yeah.
And so she was keeping an eye on it, or maybe he had already like taken a picture or two.
He must have been like taking a video, waiting for her to take a bite.
That very well could be the case as well. But he tweeted and said this Kansas City fan is just eating a baked potato in the stands, and tweeted a bunch of puking emojis. And what did she say in response? What was her tweet? It was...
She said, I caught you taking a photo as well, but I enjoyed a baked potato and a win. How about you?
And her Twitter handle, or her Twitter name above her handle, is just KC Potato Girl, I believe.
Yep, and her cover photo's the potato with the arrowhead.
Yes.
In the field.
So
she's embracing it.
I'm very curious if there are more adventures of Potato Girl. I am definitely intrigued by those adventures and hope to hear more.
In her Twitter bio, it says, just a girl who brings snacks into Arrowhead.
Yeah, I saw that earlier today. I thought that was funny too. You all right over there?
Didn't mean to do that. I was trying to find a way to
put the computer down, sir.
Post the picture on our Twitter account. So our fans,
I'll bet we
our
could do that. I'll bet we
can
can do that a
listen to
little later.
I guess.
I think Twitter will still be working after the podcast.
No fun.
He's a simple boy. He's a simple boy. And speaking of him being a simple boy, Mike, how did your research go this week as far as your preparation for your dad jokes? Did you put in some thought?
Well, I went through the jokes on this beautiful calendar that you gave me right here. I didn't like any of those, so
that's fair.
I ended up going on the onlines on the internet and finding some good ones. I think they're good ones. I think they're better than at least the last couple of weeks have been. I put probably a good 30 minutes into looking for these dang dad jokes. So
that's a heavy investment
let's
of
see
time.
These
must be some absolute doozies. Then I'm actually a little excited for this even.
All right.
I can't believe I just said that.
Oh, here we go. Why did the Scarecrow win an award?
I don't know.
I don't know. He was just outstanding in his field.
Okay.
There we go.
Not hilarious, but it is good.
Why don't crabs donate to charities? Wrong type of crabs, Adam.
You didn't even give me the chance to say a punchline. You're killing me here.
I'm gonna say to avoid any clawbacks.
That's a pretty good one. Adam,
I don't even remember what it was now. You ruined my train of thought.
Why don't crabs donate to charities?
Because they donate to divorces.
They're penny pincers.
Gracious. Nope, it's just because they're shellfish.
All right.
Why did Adele cross the road?
So that she could say hello from the other side.
Yes, sir.
I was on that one too.
Hello from the other side.
And somehow Mike managed to find a way to sing on this.
It's not hard.
No.
Heck yeah.
Not hard, and it's not good.
Is that the last one, Mike?
That is the last one.
What's our scale 1 to 10 rating for that set of 3 jokes, Maddie?
6.5.
Okay.
I think that's the best I've gotten since we've been doing this.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't like an absolute rating. That was a relative rating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like 10 being the best segment you've ever done
Oh, okay.
so far.
Gotcha.
Absolute rating is probably like 4, Mike.
Well, gosh darn it.
I stand with both of those assessments.
I'll continue to try and do better. Maybe
45 minutes next
okay, I was going to
week.
say I'll put an hour's worth of research into next time. We'll see if we can
Mike's
going to
be an expert by the end of this, I promise. But we got some news. I know we were talking a little bit recently about the PGA and Liv and a lot of big stuff that's kind of coming down the pipes. Tiger and Rory a number of months ago had made a couple big announcements that they'd helped create a new business with a guy named Mike McCarley that's called Tomorrow Sports, and it's all about media and fan engagement and interaction and bringing more virtual aspects to different sports industries. But one of their big announcements they made was they're kind of partnering with Tiger and Rory and partnering with the PGA to do this TGL. And from what I've gathered, TGL stands for Team Golf League, and it's going to be 3-versus-3 virtual golf. Have you guys heard about this at all?
I have from you, so I did a little bit of research on it a little bit today, but it looks super interesting. The setup that they're going to build their own customized stadium type thing in order to host these events in there. I think you said the first one is going to be 3v3, but there's going to be like 6 teams. Is that accurate?
There will be a total of 6 teams, 18 golfers total. But yes, they will be 3v3 events. So I'm not sure if they'll have more than 2 teams playing each week or if they'll just have 2 particular teams playing each week and just kind of rotate through them.
Okay.
It's going to be starting in January of 2024 is when that event will kick off. It's going to be on Monday nights. That facility is going to be down in Florida. And they have named a number of guys who have officially agreed to join and participate in addition to Tiger and Rory themselves.
Right. You got some big names with that, too.
You've got some very big names. The 6 guys that are confirmed are all major champions. And the other ones that you're looking at, we already had both John Rahm and JT, Justin Thomas, confirmed. And then within the last 24 hours or so, we've gotten confirmation that Colin Morikawa is joining and Adam Scott is joining as well. So now you've got about a third of the field that's committed, and it's 6 really big names, 6 guys that are going to garner some good media attention and a lot of fan engagement. And just the idea, it's just going to be a 2-hour event each Monday. I think each Monday.
Okay, well, because I was going to ask you that. Is it for sure going to be on Mondays? Because you said it's starting in January 2024. Do we still got Monday Night Football going on during that time? So
there will be a little bit of Monday Night Football, I would imagine, for the first. What I would imagine, because obviously we're in January right now and we're on a Monday and we don't have Monday Night Football.
But this was the first.
Right, so
first week that we have it.
You've got essentially the back half of January.
Okay.
And I would imagine that they will stagger that scheduling so that they don't lose potential viewership to Monday Night Football, especially come playoff time. Yeah. There was playoff Monday Night Football, and they don't want to compete against that for ratings. So I would imagine it's probably what I'm really hoping for, because as I'm sitting here looking at a TV that doesn't have anything on it besides an ad for The Legend of Hercules, I really enjoy watching my sports while I'm in here. And I've always got a great view of the TV. And I just feel like something's missing tonight because this is the first Monday night that we haven't had football in a long time.
You know what also is missing is all those from Adam over there.
You know what? I don't know what you're talking about. But
probably because he's not watching the TV.
That's besides the point, people. No, but I think that I would imagine they would stagger it so it probably started the week after Monday Night Football ends.
That would make sense. And if there's Monday Night Football, I'm probably going to be watching Monday Night Football. But honestly, this sounds super interesting. And when this rolls around next year, I'm going to be keeping my eyes on it because, first of all, I like golf. I like this idea of, basically, it sounds like they're doing like a round robin type season. And then they're going to have like a playoffs at the end of it. And so, like, you can pick your team that you you want throughout the season. It's going to be more like an actual, I mean, I say actual sports. Golf is an actual sport, but more like your regular mainstream NFL, MLB, hockey, those sort of sports where you can pick a team and you can stick with that team throughout the season and kind of watch how they do throughout that season.
Potentially, yeah. I'm looking forward to learning more about it and seeing more about what that format's going to look like and how often we're going to see it happening. But adding a little bit of sports excitement to the week in a stretch of the year when it's otherwise relatively quiet is never anything that I'm going to argue with at all.
Otherwise, you got college basketball, NBA, or hockey.
That's right. And with hockey, there was actually a really funny clip that Mr. Roselli had sent to me earlier this week surrounding a couple of brothers that were facing off against each other in Ottawa and Pittsburgh, I believe. And it was the Joseph brothers, P.O. and Matthew. One, I don't think I'd like to be called P.O. If I think it's like Pierre Oliver is what his full name was. But I don't think I'd like having the initials P.O. I don't think I'd like having, say that again?
Or the name Matthew.
Or the name Matthew.
But that's your name.
That'd be brutal. It's spelled way more French than he is, though.
Very.
But they got tangled up during play on the ice for their respective teams, and they both got dinged for penalties, and one of the brothers had no business being in the penalty box.
I was just gonna say I watched the video and I was like, I only saw one guy's stick hit someone's face. I didn't see the other one.
So the same stick
hit both
brothers' faces. So yeah, only the guy holding it should have been penalized.
Did the
It was well, obviously, yeah, it was just a blown call, and it was kind of a freak thing. It was weird how the stick went the way that it did, and it wound up doing what it did. It was very uncommon, but the ref saw that both people had blood. Essentially what happened was the ref didn't see it.
Right.
And when this happens, these guys have their noses get knocked, or it busts their lip, or if it catches them on the eyebrow, they draw blood. And so when the ref goes to see who's bleeding, and they're looking at both of their faces, and they're both their faces have blood.
Well, they both did something wrong.
All right, both of you get 2 minutes, and
they both have the same last name.
Maybe
he wasn't sure which was which, and just said,
both you brothers get in there.
Both of the Josephs,
and then you got the. Picture of mom and dad in the stands, yeah.
and dad's wearing a Senators jersey and mom's wearing a Penguins jersey, and they're just laughing. They're just cracking up at it. And one of the brothers wasn't very happy about it, and one of them thought it was pretty funny, I'm guessing. But a funny little clip there that I certainly chuckled at. And Mikey, so earlier you were talking a little bit about how K-State has driven a lot of their success surrounding, recruiting and NIL deals and all that has become legal and acceptable and whatnot during the last couple of years. I know a lot of people and a lot of athletes maybe in sports that otherwise didn't garner a ton of national attention have kind of started making names and positions for themselves. And I know you follow that a little bit, so kind of fill me in on this.
Well, so we talk about NIL, name, image, and likeness a lot, and we've talked about it on this podcast before. But typically when we're talking about it, we're talking about male-dominated sports. We're talking about football. We're talking about NCAA basketball. And we're talking about those big names, Bryce Young, all those big names that are getting money to go play for Alabama or go play to their respective schools. But we don't really dig into female athletes. Female athletes as well have the opportunity to get NIL deals. However, they kind of have to go about it a different way. A lot of these universities have a lot of money that they can throw at these big sports, football, basketball. And with that, they are able to generate the revenue in order to pay these big names to come play football or basketball or whatever for those schools. However, you look at a sport like gymnastics where they're not really on TV all the time. You don't really have you kind of have a cult following more so as as opposed to like the whole nation kind of following it. So one of these girls, young woman who does gymnastics for LSU, her name is Olivia Dunne. It goes by Livvy, but she found a way to generate her NIL deals, I guess, in order to become one of the top 10, the only woman in the top 10 of amount of money that these college athletes are making on NIL deals. So she took to social media.
And she is what athlete for where?
She is a gymnast for LSU.
Okay.
So, but she took to TikTok and she took to Instagram and social media and just started basically posting her life. She started just posting gymnastics, but then it kind of filtered into other parts of her life where she's taking photos and everything like that and going live and talking about her life in general. And so she's a good looking girl. Young blonde gymnast, a good looking girl. So she's generated this kind of cult following for herself on social media. And because she has 6.7 million followers on TikTok and 2.8 million followers on Instagram, she's been able to get her NIL deals through companies that are willing to pay her to promote things on her right. social media. Well, there's a downside to this. The reason there's a downside to this is because now she has these crazy teenage to college age boys that are showing up to her gymnastics meets and just going crazy up in the stands, yelling at her name, not letting the other gymnasts really like do their thing, not supporting the other gymnasts out there doing their thing. And then one of the issues was they were leaving a meet in Utah, the University of Utah, and there were hundreds of teenage boys surrounding the doors to leave and surrounding the LSU's team bus for where they could get on the bus, just chanting Livvy, 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 and like, we want to see Livvy. And they were like maniacs. It was crazy. If there's a video on YouTube, I'm sure if you go look up the Livvy Dunne on YouTube, you can see the video of these literally, I want to say they're from age 14 years old up to probably 20 some years old, boys crowding around this. They ended up having to move the LSU bus to a different location to get the team on there. It was almost like, if you think back and you've seen like videos of the Beatles, like trying to leave a concert event, right, a venue event, like it was very much similar to that. And so a lot of people are talking about, well, obviously the universities, the NCAA probably did not think about this when they brought NIL in here. And so they've been having to beef up security at her gymnastic meets so that they can keep everyone safe.
Well, you're right, and again, it goes back to sports that are housed in or that are staffed for a lot less patrons to be at. When right. you think about the guys that have NIL deals at Big Five conference schools for basketball, for football, those stadiums are full as it is, and those stadiums are properly equipped with security teams and measures in place and locker rooms that are off and they're not publicly accessible. I'm guessing for a lot of these gymnastics facilities and other things of that nature, I wouldn't be surprised if it was true for some soccer as well. You're gonna have to reevaluate what that looks like and what accessibility you're giving to people at those events and how you're properly planning for them, because I don't see this NIL. I don't foresee this NIL deals going anywhere. People fought long and hard to make that an opportunity and to be able for these individuals to stop allowing others to capitalize on their likeness.
Right. Well,
and
they deserve it.
But it presents a very unique problem for these colleges and these venues that are hosting these events.
Right. Well, and you got people out there that are on social media, those social media critics out there that are saying, well, Olivia Dunne, that she brings it on herself by posting all this stuff on her TikTok and on her Instagram and everything. She brings it on herself. Well, no, that's not necessarily the case.
She's a 19-year-old girl, and she's doing what 19-year-old girls do.
She's literally trying.
Every other 19-year-old girl posts a bunch of pictures of themselves too.
She just happens to be a famous one, and she's trying to make her money. She's trying to make her money the way that I think pretty much these college athletes that are women are going to have to do it is kind of through social media. And so good for her for doing that. It's just, I think the LSU and I think the NCAA need to kind of rethink, like you kind of just said, rethink the safety procedures involved in these. After this meet, Livvy tweeted out herself that, and I quote, she said, "I will always appreciate and love the support from you guys, but if you come to a meet, I want to ask you to please be respectful of the other gymnasts and the gymnastics community as we are just as we are just doing our job." And so, like, she even had to go on her social media and say something about it because of how bad it was.
And that's nice that she was able to do that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what adjustments they make and how that goes going forward. And
yeah, kind of speaking of, I don't know, people being crazy and maniacs. You got a new segment coming here, Adam?
I don't know. I guess you could call it being crazy. We highlighted fan of the week here a bit ago, and I didn't really plan on naming that particular segment fan of the week. I don't know if we'll always have a fan of the week, but it could be fun. But the segment that I had come up with, and I toyed around with a couple different names for it. But one that was thrown out, I really liked and took to. I shouldn't say I took to it. But the Dick of the Week segment.
All right.
Mike apparently took to it. But the Dick of the Week segment will be to highlight an individual or a group of people that in one way or another have made an ass out of themselves and made a poor decision or been disrespectful in some way or all of the above. And so I was thinking through who I wanted to highlight as the inaugural Dick of the Week, and the Dow, if you will, for who was ever, God damn it,
just keep rolling, buddy. Just keep on rolling.
Talking is fun sometimes. I had been looking through some social media and had come across some announcements regarding the Vancouver Canucks making a coaching change. And over the past week or two, the Vancouver Canucks have parted with their head coach, Bruce Boudreau. And from what I was able to gather, I was looking at some Reddit feeds. That was how I did my research today for one of my segments. I felt like that was an astute measure. So
doing some Reddit?
Some Reddit feeds,
yes. Reddit reading?
That too. But the entire Vancouver Canucks fan base seems to be in uproar over the front office leadership's decision to part ways with Bruce Boudreau mid-year and then turn around and hire Rick Tocchet. For those of you that might watch NHL on TNT, Rick the Rocket Tocchet has been on there with Paul Bissonnette and Anson Carter and Liam and all those guys, Wayne Gretzky. And I enjoy watching Rick Tocchet on TNT, but his track record as a head coach is not stellar. He has a considerably less than winning overall percentage in his career as a head coach. And the general consensus among the Vancouver Canucks fan base is that the wrong people are being held accountable. And I think it goes all the way up to ownership. From what I've read, they're just furious with an ownership group that continues to ignore the true problems that exist and valuing players and personnel that bring something to the table. So that is my inaugural Dow pick.
Well, and it sounds like the Vancouver Canuck fans really, really like Boudreau.
They do. And
it also sounds like former and current players are openly in favor of, or were openly in favor of keeping Boudreau, and they're now hurling grenades at Canucks management now.
Yes.
So, like, it's not even, just the handling of it, but it's like the openness of the fans and former players of they're rallying behind Boudreau, and then obviously management just decides, screw that.
Well, and a lot of people even came after Rick Tocchet with his decision to accept the job offer. A lot of people said Rick Tocchet should have run away from that. That was kind of a classless move for him to accept that with how they treated Bruce Boudreau. So there's a lot of people that are upset at a number of individuals with regard towards this. And if I'm being honest, if I'm just thinking about it and knowing that these players are unhappy with how this has transpired, and I'm Rick Tocchet, that does not sound like a locker room I want to inherit.
Exactly.
That doesn't. It's kind of like what we were talking about last week with which jobs you want in the NFL. To me, that's not a position I want to walk into. Like, obviously, the opportunity to turn around a losing culture, sure, but if you're already the bad guy in the room just because you took a job,
right? I mean, you're playing behind the 8 ball.
You're
there.
well behind the 8 ball, and those players aren't vested in on you. You don't have any buy-in from them,
right? So it's gonna be hard. I mean, he's gonna have to come in and get that buy-in. I don't know how the best way to do that would be, but I mean, obviously, any changes that he makes are going to be questionable from here on out, or questioned by the fans and questioned by former players. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll see how the back half of the season goes for them. That's for sure. And now we'll transition into a segment we all know and love. It's time for Matt's Hostile Takeover.
All right, so today I thought I'd go over some parlay betting strategies. Okay.
Sounds good. We need the help. So, yep.
Lord knows.
And first, do you guys know what the odds are on an even bet? And what I mean by an even bet, an even chance, 50-50. So let's say Sportbook says we're going to flip a coin, heads or tails. What are the odds they're going to give you on that?
Minus 110.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're going to take their house cut, okay? They're going to take that 10% off of each side, and they don't care what the coin flip is at that point.
Right.
Now, they move the odds based on where the money goes. The whole goal of the sports book is to keep the money even on both sides. So if for some reason some Colt out there says, I know that heads is going to be for sure the result of this coin flip, and they convince 80% of the population
Hammer
to
heads.
bet heads,
right,
the odds will move
towards
to try and get more money on tails.
Right.
So the heads will appear more likely in the odds, and the tails will pay out better.
Right.
The tails
Yes.
will go positive odds, heads will go negative. So that's just some basics before we get into it. Now, do you guys realize how parlays get... Well, okay, backing up. Why are parlays so attractive? Why do people like betting them?
Because you get good odds. There's a chance, and it's probably more of a slim chance, but there's a chance that you can win a crap ton more money.
Put in a little, make a lot.
If your legs hit.
Exactly. Spend little, get a lot.
Right.
Okay, and
Low risk, high reward.
if you're betting on 3 coin flips, okay, that's a parlay. That's a 3-leg parlay. You say, I'm in this heads Colt, all right?
Okay.
It's going to be heads, heads, heads. That's my parlay bet, all right? It's not going to just pay out, minus 110, minus 110, minus 110, right?
Right.
Let's say you put $110 on it 3 times, 3 separate heads bets, right? Mm-hmm. That would pay out $300.
Right.
Correct.
If you parlay it, that balloons to something. I don't have the math right here with me, but near $1,000.
It's a 1 in 8 chance. So yeah.
Yeah, and what that parlay effectively is doing is taking the result of each leg if you win and doubling down on the next leg.
Okay.
So in other words, when you make that parlay and you decide to put $5 on it being heads, 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 you are effectively saying, I'm going to bet $5 on heads. And then when that hits and I make $9, I'm going to take that $9.
Bet
and
that
I'm
on
going to
the
bet
next
heads again. I'm a maniac. I'm in that Colt.
I'm a maniac.
Same thing.
And then when that hits and you're up to $20, you're going to take $20 and you're going to put it on heads again.
Yeah. That makes sense.
It sounds a little stupid, doesn't it?
It kind of does. But every once in a while you
If you
win.
dumb down gambling as a whole.
Yeah. And so here's another crazy part. You only need to win somewhere between 55 and 60% of your straight bets to make a profit over the long run.
Okay.
Like just enough to take that house edge off.
Well, I ran the numbers. Now, to be fair, I was not factoring in straight bets versus parlays. I was simply just looking at my DraftKings app since it had opened up,
Okay.
and I looked at all the bets that I'd placed.
It's a scary place
And
to
this,
go.
Yes,
it is a
I
scary
don't even
place
think I
to
want
go.
to look at that.
I
so-
don't recommend it. I guess in one way it wasn't as bad as I thought it could have been, but it wasn't anything to write home about. So I'm at minus 26 as far as I've lost 26 more bets than I've won.
Oh, you're looking just pure bet numbers.
Just pure bet numbers. That includes me not winning a parlay. So like a number of those are obviously parlays.
Did you find the
Right.
section that shows
But I couldn't-
money risked versus money won?
I couldn't. Does that section? Does it exist on the app?
There is one.
It is in FanDuel.
There is one in FanDuel. I haven't found the one in DraftKings because
I'll
I was
have to
actually
check
looking
the-
at this the other day too, and I
looked
couldn't
through
find it.
DraftKings and I couldn't find it, which seems shady in itself. I kind of started looking through. It's like, well, is there an option for 1-800-bets off, and I'm able to like then click that link and see how much I've lost, and I don't know. But no, I pretty thoroughly looked through the same day that I was looking at this stuff, because that was what I really wanted to know. I didn't really care about the number of bets. I cared about the dollar
The
figure.
money, yeah, because you could have, I mean, hit a really good bet and made quite a bit of money, and your money could be more even. You know,
Right.
you never know.
But minus 26, and I'm guessing it's probably closer to minus 28 or 29 now. But I hit a parlay this weekend. I did hit one. I don't hit them often,
Told you,
but I hit one.
parlays can happen, and they change
But
your life. They change your
I'm-
life when you hit them.
But I'm by no means the hottest man in this room.
You are not.
I'm just sitting
I think
down
that
at the base level here.
That goes to producer Matt Roselli over there.
I had a hot weekend. I don't know if I'm the hottest overall.
I think you might be.
But yeah, I had the Bengals made me a lot of money. I put what I would call a 10 unit on the plus 5.5 Bengals, and that paid out. And I also put like 2 units on money line, and that paid out. It was
Nice.
good. Chiefs game.
Units on units.
Yeah, and then I hit the playoff parlay that I just talked about, not doing parlays because they're evil.
Yes.
But the reason they're so attractive, they pay out huge. There were a couple of interesting parlays that I saw this past weekend with playoffs. One being the first, for all 4 games, the first touchdown score being one of the tight ends on every game. So that's already unlikely. The Chiefs actually is the most likely.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not uncommon for the Chiefs.
But 3 out of 4 of those legs hit.
Yep. It was Kelsey, Goddard, and Schultz. And the one that didn't hit
Knox.
was Dawson Knox.
And
for
this
the
was
Bills.
a $50 parlay. And again, because of the double down, the double down, the double down, it would have paid out $1 million.
Yeah.
And this guy had the opportunity to cash out a $50 bet at $650 halfway through when the first 2 legs hit. He did not.
See, I don't know if that's worth it though. I think for $1 million, you gotta let that
Did he
thing
have the
ride.
option for the third one, or was the third one the one that didn't hit?
The
The
third
third one
one
was the
didn't
one
hit,
that
so he
didn't.
was
Oh,
not
okay.
given another chance. So
Damn.
it's exactly like deal or no deal, sort of.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, I think it would have to be like, for $1 million, I think it'd have to be like, I don't know, $5,000 or $10,000 cash out for me to hit that button.
But
Otherwise,
see,
I'm going to try and let it
You got to
ride.
think about it. At that point in time, would you take $650 and put it on a 2-leg parlay for 2 tight end first-time touchdowns? Would you?
I guess, yeah. The way you just described it, probably
Why?
not. Probably not.
So, and it was funny. I'm in a couple of group chats, and the group was very split 50-50, cash out or let it ride. And boy, yeah, when it's not your money, you say let it ride. But how can
Yeah.
you let that ride?
I was going to let it ride. Matt and I are in one of the same group chats, and I'm pretty sure we
Yeah.
were saying opposite things.
That
Sure.
checks out. That checks out.
But another interesting parlay, which I actually thought was smart, and I couldn't believe the odds were as favorable, but it was the kickoff being a touchback. on a
Oh yeah,
first kickoff.
I saw this one too. Yep.
I think it hit. I actually don't know because I missed one of the games. I can't remember, but that seemed like a no-brainer. No one wants any returns in the playoff games. No one wants to start, with a potential touchdown against you.
And 7 out of the 8 teams this weekend had a workable kicker.
Yeah. Oh, that was one. There was the odds on Brett Maurer missing another extra point were not as low as they should have been. It was still like plus 300. And what do you know? He missed one.
He did. What? It was blocked.
It got blocked.
It was blocked, right?
He still didn't make it. Wasn't good. Didn't count for him. It was 0 for 1.
Can't find anything quickly on the kick touchbacks, so we'll just have to.
Oh, we'll dig into some more this week.
Yeah, update that next week.
So, anyway, the segment I was gonna pitch was cool parlay betting strategies, but the more I dug into it, the more I had to be up front and be like, parlays are not the way to go. They're fun. They're especially fun because when you have very little money in your account left, it can be like a Hail Mary sort of thing. But you got to remember, you're doubling and doubling and doubling down before you even see the result of any of them.
That's right.
That's true.
But so one way I like to use parlays, now that we covered I like picking a few favorites on a weekend. Sometimes it's only 2 favorites, like serious favorites, just to make the odds closer to like an even straight bet. In the regular season, that would look something like Chiefs-Bills money line.
Yep.
Just something simple. And then this is a way people think that they can beat the sports books is when there's legs in a same game parlay that are correlated that you somehow convince yourself that they haven't accounted for.
Like a quarterback's passing yards and a wide receiver's receiving yards.
Yes, that. Also just like quarterback passing yards and who's going to win the game. Like, for example, if Mahomes throws over
like,
325 passing yards, it's pretty likely that the game is also won.
So that's why it won't let me bet some of those parlays when I try.
That's why it won't
attach
those legs. Yes.
Yeah.
They know what you're up to.
Sometimes it won't at all, but then other times it also just secretly adjusts the odds.
Right.
Like if you ever notice when you pick opposing correlations, things like both quarterbacks over and the under, we'll just say, like the odds will jump higher.
Yeah.
And they don't advertise those correlations. You just have to watch it when you add your legs. So that's just something to look out for, especially when you're doing a same game parlay.
That's, definitely interesting. I'll be trying to look out for that here in the future.
I appreciate your research. Hopefully it'll make me more money.
Or just stay away from parlays, Mike.
Or just stay away from it.
But it's so tempting.
And just remember 1-800-BETS-OFF if you can't say no. Talking to you, Mike.
Okay.
Speaking of gambling money, did you guys see that Tinder has a $500 a month subscription?
Michael?
Okay. I don't know why we're looking at me for this one, but
I
did see that.
I believe, in the words of one Michael Metcalf, I am extremely single.
Roll the tape.
I am completely...
Well, I can 100% say I'm not going to pay $500 a month for a Tinder subscription because there's just no possible way that $500 is going to find me a girlfriend anything quicker than, I don't know. I bought Tinder Plus one time. It didn't work out very good. So
at 3 a.m.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, just don't spend any money on the dating apps. Just, I don't know, go out, do something. Go join a sports league, go to church, go to wherever, go to a bar.
Go fly a kite.
Find a girl in real life. I mean, I'm going to try and heed that wisdom here going into the next year, or I guess this 2023 year.
I should have headed, take heed.
Beware the fog.
Not last Saturday. They got blown out by TCU.
We're in the fog.
And with that note, we'll close it out. Thanks for joining us, friends. Get in there. Say hello.
Hey, it's Matt.
Yeah.
Hey.
But thanks for joining us. Having fun trying out some new stuff. Give us your feedback. Seriously, do it.
Just do it.
Right below on the YouTube comments.
Right below on the YouTube comments.
Or find us on Facebook. There's always Next Year Podcast.
Tell Mike how much you like his glasses and ask him what his prescription is.
Thank you.
And with that, I'll close out.
Don't forget, there's always next year.